Tonight's agenda is the approval of minutes. We have minutes from 2 regular meetings and 3 special meetings. May I have a motion to approve all of these minutes?
Motion made. Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Let's see, on November 20th, let's see, it was item 4C. There was nothing here about discussing the litter ordinance. I was looking at my notes and I thought we discussed the, yeah. There was the litter ordinance that was, requested that we review.
I don't have my agenda from the last meeting, Ron. Do you remember if that was on the agenda?
It may have been. We can double check that.
Why don't we put that set of minutes, continue that set of minutes and check that agenda and just deal with the other 4 sets of minutes.
In November 20th, page 3, 4C. It's just,
Oh, yeah,
discussion
4C
about
has,
Yeah.
4C. Let's go through it. 4C is there.
Okay.
Disregard my suggestion.
Okay.
We're good?
Does anyone else have other comments?
All set.
I have 2 comments on the minutes for the regular meeting, October 9th. Item 1, the approval of the minutes. I believe those votes should be 6-0 rather than 7-0. Those 2 votes. And a second, again, the minutes of November 20th, page 6. 5A on the updates, the second bullet. No abutter notification for minor subdivisions if the town can regulate above state statute will be researched by Mr. Regan, and I would like to add and report it at the next meeting, as it has been, but I'd like to add that in the minutes.
Got it.
So, the maker of the motion, will you modify your motion to accept the minutes as amended?
Make the motion to amend the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The minutes are accepted, approved. Item 2 is correspondence. We have a memo of the town planner dated November 20th, 2019 regarding administrative subdivision plan approval. Earl Hale and Aaron and Sheila Mathis, 6 Phillips Avenue and 27 Marshall Lane, Plat 105, lots 36 and 37. May I have a motion to receive this correspondence?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Correspondence is accepted. This evening, we have 6 continuances for those in the audience. Items 4A, 4B, 5C, 5D, 5E, and 5F will be continued. So, item 4A, public informational meeting. Application of Ellery Yahia for master plan approval of a 4-lot subdivision, including a proposed new road and request for waivers from certain provisions of Article 5 and Article 6 of the Middletown Rules and Regulations regarding the subdivision and development of land. The property is located at the intersection of Peckham Avenue and Vaucluse Avenue and is identified as 206 Peckham Avenue, Tax Assessors Plat 128, Lot 31. Is there anyone to speak on this? Mr. Lynch?
My understanding, we've requested a continuance based upon the quorum that we have this evening. So
We
we
have
can
a
continue that to the next
motion
meeting.
to continue this item to the January 8th meeting?
That's fine, thank you.
Motion made.
Do I have a motion made and seconded? Any
Second.
discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This item is continued. Item 4B, public hearing. Application of Jack Gullison for development plan review, including requests for waivers from certain design standards of the Middletown Rules and Regulations regarding the subdivision and development of land, Section 521, for construction of a new commercial building to include an 18-room hotel with a restaurant and associated site work located on property identified as 59 Aquidneck Avenue, Assessors Plat 115 SE, Lot 169. Mr. Lynch.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make the same request that we continue this to January 8th, please.
We have a motion to continue this to the January 8th meeting.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to continue this item. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is continued to the January 8th meeting. Item 5C, application of Mark Haran for preliminary plan approval of a 3-lot subdivision of land fronting on Lewis Drive and Bailey Avenue, tax assessors plat 125, lot 950.
Mr. Chairman, if we could also continue that to January 8th, please.
May I have a motion to continue this item to the January 8th meeting?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to continue this item to the January 8th meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is continued. Item 5D, application of Brennan Realty LLC, Bernadette Realty LLC, and Mark Byrne Realty LLC for final plan approval for an 11-lot major subdivision of property fronting on Mitchell's Lane. The property is identified as 430 Mitchell's Lane, Assessors Plat 124, lots 13, 14, 14A, and 15, and is located approximately 1,300 feet to the north of the intersection of Mitchell's Lane and Fayette Avenue. The request was made.
Request was made to continue with an agreement or approval to extend the time period for planning board approval to the January 8th meeting.
May I have a motion to continue this item to the January 8th meeting?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to continue this item. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is continued to the January 8th meeting. Item 5E, public hearing, application of Eric and Melissa Curtin for preliminary plan approval of a 4-lot subdivision including proposed new roads. The applicant is requesting that the board authorize the administrative officer to review and approve the final plan once submitted. The property fronts on Vaucluse Avenue and Summerfield Lane and is located approximately 1,000 feet south of the intersection of Vaucluse Avenue and Peckham Avenue, Assessors Plat 129, Lot 210.
The applicant has contacted me today, also requesting a continuance to the January 8th meeting.
May I have a motion to continue this item?
Before we do that,
Well, we can discuss the matter.
I just want, my question is, I'd like to have an explanation for why the board is not requested to approve the final plan and the planner is. I have no particular worries about that, but we have a standard procedure on issues like this, that things come before the planning board. Is that for expediency or some other reason?
We should probably discuss this during the public hearing.
Okay.
Motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to continue this item to the January 8th meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is continued to the January 8th meeting. Item 5F, public informational meeting. Application of Juan Campos for master plan approval for 5-lot subdivision, including extension of an existing town road and request for waivers from certain provisions of Article 5 and Article 6 of the Middletown Rules and Regulations regarding the subdivision and development of land. The property is located at the end of Serenity Drive with frontage also on Maidford River Road and is identified as Tax Assessors Plat 120, Lots 68A and 68B.
The applicant contacted me today as well, requesting that this matter be continued to the January 8th meeting.
May I have a motion?
Motion made.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to continue this item to the January 8th meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is continued. Item 4C, public hearing, application of Exit Strategy LLC for development plan review, including requests for waivers from certain design standards of the Middletown Rules and Regulations regarding the subdivision and development of land, Section 521, and recommendation to the Zoning Board of Review for construction of a gas station with a convenience store, restaurant, and a car wash to be located in Zone 2 of the Watershed Protection District on property identified as 991 and 995 West Main Road, Assessors Plat 106, lots 115 and 116. Mr. Lynch.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Lynch on behalf of the applicant.
Excuse me. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion made to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to open the public hearing. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The public hearing is open. Mr. Lynch.
Thank you. We're here before you this evening as part of the development plan review for this particular project. We had a site visit several weeks ago on the property and pointed out, which is a vacant lot at this point, and pointed out the location of the proposed structure. What we're going to be presenting tonight before you is a presentation concerning the proposed use, which is primarily it's a high-end car wash with a gas station as an accessory use, a bagel shop as an accessory use, and also a dog washing facility, which is going to be an accessory use to the main use of the car wash. We have been before the TRC, and we received a favorable recommendation with certain conditions that they suggested and which we've agreed to. In addition to seeking the recommendation from this board this evening for the Zoning Board of Review, we're looking for several waivers from the design standards. I think I can probably break those down into two, groups. One is the design, materials, et cetera, and landscaping. And then there were also several waivers that we're seeking concerning primarily pedestrian access to the site and around the site. I think I'll address those first. The use that we're proposing is primarily a motor vehicle use. It's a car wash, a gas station, and associated convenience store. It's not the type of business that's intended to generate pedestrian traffic to and from the site. It's only for motor vehicles. So I think that's why a number of the pedestrian type access issues have not been proposed in this plan. I don't think it makes sense to have pedestrians walking through a primarily motor vehicle based operation. I have three witnesses this evening that we're going to present to you. One is the principal of the applicant, Eric Petzold. He's going to walk you through the operation. He's got several other of these type of operations down on Long Island and elsewhere. So he's going to give you a history on how these operate, what you can expect to generate from traffic, et cetera, on the site. He's also going to address the design standards and the waivers that we're looking for from design. I have Lynn Small from Northeast Engineer, who's also going to testify about the stormwater management issues. And we have Herman Peralta from Beta Engineering, who's going to address the traffic issues associated with this particular project. So I guess I'll call my first witness, Mr. Petzold.
How are you, Eric Petzold? And I'd like to just tell how the car wash works, actually. So if we able to pull up the survey, the layout, the site plan.
So before you get started, just,
Okay.
do you have a couple of these on Long Island?
Yes, I do.
You
Three
don't
of
have one
them?
at Patchogue by any chance, do you?
No, sir.
Where are they on Long Island?
We have Floral Park, Floral Park, Belrose, and Rockville Center.
Okay. Because when I go to New York, I go to Belport and I go to Patchogue, and I know exactly what you want to do, and we're
Okay.
excited about it.
Good. You can see there's a necessity for it then, right? Okay, so you'd be, what you do is you'll enter on the south side. That's where the cars will stack. There's sufficient room there for stacking. Hopefully, it's always that busy. What will happen is there will be a greeter to meet you there to sell you what wash package that you're looking for. You get out of the car. You'll go through the store, hopefully spend lots of money, buy bagels, wash your dog, et cetera, and you're able to see your car going through the tunnel. We do it a little bit differently. We don't have a conveyor that can mar up your rims and cause damage to your car. It's like a big belt system. We call it the magic carpet ride. So the car goes through there, gets washed. When it gets out, there'll be a driver at the exit, gets in your car, moves it into a spot, and then there'll be, usually, depending how busy it is, 1 or 2 people to dry the car off, vacuum it, do the windows inside, and it's similar to a mini detail. Very differently than what we're used to seeing here now. But in New York, it's kind of the industry norm.
Now, in addition to the car wash, Mr.
Mhm.
Petzold, you've got some other accessory uses?
Jay, could you go to the microphone,
Yes.
please?
Yeah.
In addition, you've got some accessory uses associated with the car wash?
Yes, we do. We have a bagel store, which I'm also in the bagel business as well, and I see there's a great need for quick, good food here, and what I would call like New York-style bagels, real bagels. So we have that in there, and we also have a dog washing station, obviously. Lots of us all have dogs here, and it's self-serve. It doesn't require any other labor, and you can get to wash your own dog in there as well. And then there's nice waiting areas, and as I was explaining to Jay earlier, a lot of times in the car wash industry, due to the unpredictability of the weather, usually it closes about 100 days a year, which greatly affects everything else inside. You're putting millions of dollars into this, and you're trying to run a food establishment as well. Those 100 days, the businesses really don't thrive. It's not sustainable, so we're expecting the gas to help out with that as well.
Now, is the gas going to be really a primary use, or is it more an accessory use to the car wash?
We're expected to be more an accessory use because car wash is our primary business, and like I said earlier, just to help with the rainy days and to offset all the costs, hopefully the gas will help with that.
Now, time-wise, what's the general length of someone that's coming in to get their car washed from when they show up on site to when they leave?
Okay, so depending on the wait, how many people are online, hopefully there's always a lot of people. Once you get out of your car, you can expect to be in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. But the car goes through the tunnel, it goes through slowly, and when it gets at the exit, depending what wash package you got, if you want Armor All, if you want your tires shined, the inside, all the door jambs and everything else like that blown out, it'll take a little bit extra, but I would say on average of about 15 minutes.
Now, what's your experience if you had a day where you've got an extraordinary amount of business? What normally happens if you've got a number of cars
Jay, could you
stacked?
move closer, please?
What's your experience when it's a very busy day and you've got cars stacked almost coming out to West Main Road? What normally happens at that point for the business?
I would say 99.9% of the times more than normally. If there's that many cars online, people just will drive by, So that's why we do our best to, keep up the quality, but still, expedite and get the cars through there quickly. Because if there was ever that many cars online, people just, I'm going to go tomorrow. People just won't, back up or wait that long.
Now, once your customer is done with the wash and dry,
Mhm.
they're going to exit from the north side of the property?
Yes, sir.
So you have an exit directly on the north side of the lot out to West Main Road?
Yes, sir.
And you also have another point of egress, which is into the adjacent parking lot on the north?
Yes. That would help if there's ever any, traffic backups, which I doubt there would be. That would help quell that problem as well. Because that is a big easement over there with lots of space.
If we can, read the photograph, color rendering. Mr. Betzel, up on the screen, is that the rendering of the proposed structure?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to the board the type of materials that you're going to be incorporating into this project?
Yes, so typically what we like to do, that's pretty much afterwards, hopefully he'll pull up some other pictures, so of actual renderings of what we do. That's pretty much our trademark there, if you will. The roof itself, we use GAF roofing. The color is bark wood. We use the plaster would be cream colored. The batten board is Tudor brown. The brick itself is Belden brick. The color is Brandywine, and windows typically we use a company EFCO, and it's black anodized.
You're going to have panes in the windows?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I'm going to submit an additional exhibit. I'll give that to you. If I can submit exhibits to the board of other sites. You can just have that admitted, I guess, as applicants one, please. Ms. Petzel, can you explain to the board what these photographs represent?
This here is a car wash that we operate in Rockville Center, Long Island, and it's pretty much the exact same materials that I just explained to you we'd be using there. The only thing different is instead of this Pennsylvania fieldstone here, we're going to be using brick instead on this particular car wash.
And the second photograph in that exhibit?
That is the same car wash, just from a different view.
And there's a third page on that?
And that is the same car wash again from the other corner, and then
And
the last one.
page.
Yes. So that's actually my first baby that we opened up. It's about 11 years old now, and that's a current photo. I'd say it was probably less than a year old. In this particular location, it's a car wash, and instead of a bagel store in there, we actually have ice cream and cheesesteaks.
So the design that you're incorporating, you're proposing here, really is, it's part of your branding for the other facilities that you have?
Yes, exactly. That's our signature branding. The only thing we're doing a little bit different is it's our intentions. If anybody had opposed to it, we'd like to use brick instead of the fieldstone.
So I have a question.
Sure.
What particular kind of architecture would this generally fall in? Is it a Victorian? Is it like?
I would, Tudor style, I would say European.
We have been attempting, and I've been at this for a long time, over 20 years, to get what's called the New England look. One of these days, maybe I'll get there. So I'm always encouraging people to have something that looks like it belongs on the seashore. Maybe it could be, would that work in Nantucket? Or could you go to some rural place in Massachusetts, Stockbridge, and put that in? So I'm always on that edge, trying to get something that's complementary to the New England architecture style. I think it's a magnificent building, but if I was in Heidelberg, Germany, I think I'd hop right in there and have a beer. So I know you're a long way down the line with this, but
Yeah.
I have to put that out or I can't sleep at night, okay?
I understand. We took, well, we're doing some other projects, but like one of my favorite mansions up here is the Carey Mansion. It's a very similar architecture. We try to take a lot of design elements from that. So, but I understand what you're saying. No, that's pretty much it.
I don't have any other questions, Mr. Penselton, if the board has any questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So there's one entrance into the facility, that one entrance where you queue up with your car. So if you're coming in, suppose I wanted to come in, I didn't want a car wash, I wanted to get a bagel. So what would they do? Just drive in that entrance and
There's
turn over left or something like
There's
that?
ample parking.
Yeah.
You would pull in there and then, like, kind of head towards the building.
Mhm. What if I came in that private driveway and came around the other side? That's another, the north side?
Actually, so that would be the north side of the building.
Yeah.
That's an easement there. You could easily park, I would say, 40 cars in there as well. So that's an option. You can park there and walk in. Or as you come in from the south side there, you could pull in and there's plenty of parking right in the front.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, probably about, I forget the exact number, but about 10 spots.
Okay, so you don't have to go straight through, you know, you just
No.
you can turn over to the left. So-
We recommend you get your car washed though.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of questions on the building. If you were to substitute clapboard instead of the, what is beige in color, it might look a lot more like a New England-style building. Is that something you would consider?
Clapboard?
Yeah. Or, you know, something that looks like clapboard and is acceptable.
Like shingles?
Well, shingles is good too.
No, I'm not quite sure exactly what
But,
clapboard would be. This is our signature, our branding. It's kind of what we've been,
it's your signature branding, but, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
this
I
is
know.
Middletown.
yeah.
And Middletown has ordinances that says we would like them to look like New England buildings. It's something, it seems, you know, you wouldn't have to change the construction plans or anything, just that surface. Seems like an easy change to comply with the town ordinances. The other question I have is, why is this building so tall? I mean, it's 40 feet tall. Why is it so big? It's a 3-story building for a car wash and service station.
Yeah, so a decent amount of the car wash equipment is upstairs. It's located up there. The equipment that runs the car wash is probably the area that you gentlemen are sitting in there, probably, or if not bigger. All the chemicals, all the storage, and you know, all the equipment, you know, for the bagel store and storage.
Okay, but I'd like to comment on the clapboard. I think you should consider that. That's something you should give,
Probably not.
probably not.
Yeah, because like I said, this is style. This is our signature and likelihood. And we're looking to you know, hopefully one day franchise, and that's
The style of the building is certainly would retain your trademark appearance. Trying to be persuasive here.
I agree, yeah. And the color scheme too, you know.
that's tough.
I think it would make it much more acceptable to the planning board, and it would eliminate some of your waivers. And both of those are positive. Plus, it complies with the ordinance, you know.
I know the waivers, it's really materials that you're focused on, you're looking for the natural materials.
Well, but the ordinance calls for New England-style designs as well, so. How do others feel? I know how you feel.
I agree, you know, and also the color scheme, you know, like the Tudor style there, I don't think that fits in with, you know, with the area as much as say clapboard, you know, and shingles, and maybe more of a grayish type bluish colors and things like that, instead of the tan and the brown, you know, so.
Mhm.
I'm
I
su-
understand the branding, and I certainly sympathize with you. But as Art has mentioned, we've been trying for years to assimilate new buildings into the New England Village concept. I would hope we could find a happy medium somewhere.
To give you an example, a long time ago,
John, excuse me, John, when you're talking, speak into the mic.
we had a member of the planning board, and we had fast food places here. You've seen them. And they all came in with the same thing. Well, corporate mandates we do it this way. So he would get in his car on Thursday morning and drive to Woodstock, Vermont, and Stockbridge, Massachusetts, to take pictures of Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Burger King, etc. And he would come back with the evidence that, yes, there was corporate branding, but apparently there were exceptions. And so we never got all the way to Stockbridge, Mass, but we got a little better than we would have gotten on the way. So we're just trying to do something that is complementary to the style. And I could see, I'm a Long Island guy, I'm a Massapequa guy. So
Uh-oh.
Rockville Center, I get it,
Yeah,
because you've got a lot of stucco, whatever you call those houses.
Tudor.
Tudor houses,
Yeah.
and it works in Rockville Center.
Mhm.
So we're just appealing to your
I-
sensitive side here to do.
No, I totally understand, I get it. It's preference, it's taste. I mean, I'm not a fan of that architecture, to be honest. Like, I love the old, Chateau-esque style architecture that, made Newport beautiful, and it's the styles that I love. If you told me, listen, I want to see limestone, I'd say, you know what, I'll probably do it. But I'm just not a fan of, sorry to say, I don't know how else to say it. It's not my style that I enjoy. Every day I drive by my car washes and I enjoy looking at them, and they're beautiful to me. So
Well, your
that's a
attorney-
tough one.
Your attorney could give you a tour in his car, and you could see what we're talking. So we just put that out there.
Yeah, I understand. So,
Yeah, another question I have is on the traffic pattern on the lot, not so much with entering and exiting onto West Main Road, but on the lot itself. Crossman Engineering made some comments, and there were some responses to those. I gotta find my document, excuse me a minute. One of them, the comment, I'm looking at number 13 on the response. Do you have that? Number 13. The comment has to do with cars backing up, more than 10 cars. And the response says that, there should be sufficient space, but that's the issue. It says patrons do not drive their own vehicles, they are handled by staff, et cetera. Patrons will enter the retail portion of the building and wait for the vehicles. And I say, what does that have to do with queuing of cars? I mean, the question was not answered, as far as I'm concerned. So if more than 10 cars are in that line, how will you manage it?
I think Mr. Petzold's testified that in situations where you have more than 10 cars in, you're not going to have someone else who's going to be the 12th or 13th car in line. They're going to leave. They're not going to wait to be the 15th car in line for the car wash.
Well, let me play the devil's advocate, that's, okay? Your diagram shows 10 cars queued up,
That's right.
and there's still plenty of space for cars to turn in there.
And there's still plenty of room for cars to turn into the gas station and the bagel shop.
But if 4 more cars turn in there for the car wash, the entrance to the gas pumps is blocked.
you could also exit on the north end over there too. Exit or enter.
Eric,
Yeah,
Uh,
excuse me.
Eric,
You could also enter. So if you did on those very, very rare occasions that anybody else, so there's enough stacking room there for, I'd say, 2, 4, probably 6 more cars before you would get out to West Main Road, which I don't think would ever happen. In that event that it ever did happen, there's also access to on the north portion there, there's an entrance and an exit.
You're going to have staff on site who are going to be supervising these vehicles, whenever you're open.
Yeah, whenever the car wash is open, there's always at least one manager there. There's one manager inside the store, and there's also a manager that's outside, that's going between the entrance and the exit to, expedite.
And you're going to want to make sure that your staff keeps that entrance open to the gas station and the store. You don't want that blocked because that's bad for business, correct?
Absolutely. Bad for business, bad for revenue. It's in our best interest to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Other questions?
Well, since we're on the traffic study, what the traffic study didn't capture, and it's kind of hard to do it, is what happens after Memorial Day. West Main Road on a Saturday and Sunday is unbelievable. Because most of the people coming down 24, when they come off to come down to Newport, get off on West Main Road. Most people who live here don't go there at certain times of the day at West Main Road. Huge amount of traffic coming south, particularly in the morning, and going back at night. So how the traffic guy captures that is going to be a miracle. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and just to let you know, it was in the report that based upon the state's studies, the peak travel time is not on weekends on this site. It's weekday, evening hours, morning and evening, when people are leaving the base. It's not, the
Yeah.
weekends are not the peak travel times.
But you'll have people several of our council people who have said they don't go on West Main Road on Saturday and Sunday, but that's their thing. My other comment has to do with the second waiver. Now, one of the most difficult things we have to put together are residential people and commercial people. And I really am not comfortable waiving that particular waiver. I think that residential people need to have an appropriate screen between your business and their homes, for the obvious reasons that it's a residential place and they want some peace and quiet, et cetera. So I just put that out for the board's edification.
Other comments? Do you have anything else to present?
Not for Mr. Petzl. I do have Ms. Small who will address the stormwater issues design.
Yeah, we'd like to hear that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good evening, Lynn Small, Northeast Engineers, 55 John Clock Road, Middletown. The proposal in front of you tonight includes the redevelopment of the basically last 2 residential homes on West Main Road between Valley Road and Forest Ave, I guess. These lots are between 2 plazas, one on the north side, one on the south side. The development includes access from West Main Road. We have one-way entrance, just entrance only, and then exit only on the northbound side. We do have access through Ken Elk's property that's on the abuts us on the north through the easement as well, as a secondary exit or entrance. That's 2-way entrance or exit. The drainage design for the property was a bit difficult. It's a residential use right now, so there's a lot of pervious areas. As you're very well aware, that we are challenged with maintaining the peak runoff or reducing the peak runoff from the site following the development from what it is under existing conditions. As you can see with the way the site is laid out, we have quite a bit of impervious area and building to account for. To add to that challenge, we ended up with a elevated water table. And because it's a gas station type use, we're not allowed to infiltrate in those areas. So Basically, the drainage system is comprised of collecting the system, running it through oil water separators, then water quality treatment system, which then has an under drain that eventually discharges into the state system. We ended up with 2 catchments on this site, one to the residential property, the property to the northwest, and then obviously DOT is our main design point for this project. We do reduce the peak runoff for all storms to all of our subcatchments and volume to our abutter. There was a slight increase in volume to the state system, and we had to go through extensive study to demonstrate to the state that that increase in volume had no impact on their overall system because of the peak discharge and how we had reduced that. Their system actually functions better as a result of this construction, this project. So other than that, the project meets all of the state requirements. We did ask for a waiver from groundwater recharge because of our elevated water table. During the TRC, one of the conditions of that favorable recommendation was that we try to create an area up in the southeast corner where we can may be able to get a little bit of infiltration. We won't fully be able to meet that regulation, but we may be able to get a little bit towards groundwater recharge. Generally, the water table is so high, we're not super concerned with it. In this particular area, there's no wells, everybody's on town water, so it doesn't end up being a big problem. Both state agencies who reviewed the project, DEM and DOT, waived that requirement. As far as Ms. Weber's concerned with the waiver to residential properties, I just want to make sure it's clear that the only property that we abut that is residentially used is to the rear, and we do provide 20 feet of landscaping there. Because the property line, does this work? This residential property, which is the Bay something Apartments, actually owns these 2 slivers as part of their lot, although they're easements for use to both adjoining properties. Technically, they're part of that residential lot. So as a technicality, we have to ask for a waiver for landscaping, a 20-foot landscaping buffer from the south and the north side.
Okay, but we're all set on the back with the condos.
But we do have 20 feet here,
Okay,
yes.
On this, it shows 10 feet.
It is 10 feet of arborvitaes, some sort of arborvitaes, and then we have grass. This meets the standard for the zoning and planning department.
Does that meet the?
It's 20 feet. They have 20 feet, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we do have the stacking, and I know that it's a little bit interesting to see so many cars stacked. We're required as part of the DOT permit to demonstrate that we can stack at least 10 cars on a site when you have a drive-through of any sort. So that's why you see that. As Eric testified, the average time through this car wash is 15 minutes per car. I don't think anyone's waiting 2 hours to get through a car wash. So my guess is you'll never get 10 cars stacked on this site just because of that situation. It's very unique because of the high-end way that this car wash works is no one wants to wait in line that long, and they're gonna know that that's your average time through. So they'll probably cut through the site and, exit out before that 2-hour period. That's my guess. This project, we do have the gas station feature. We have only 3 pumps. Normally on a gas station you have 5 pumps, but as Eric testified, it's just an accessory use. We originally had a few more pumps, but to make this better circulation through the site, we reduced the number of pumps on the project. We do have 2-way circulation on both the east side and west side of the pump island, so that will help internal traffic patterns. We provide for 17 parking spaces on site, whereas 15 are required. So we do meet all of those requirements for the city. We did submit you a landscape plan as well, so that we can provide the vegetation and the trees required for a parking area. I don't know if you have any other questions.
Anyone have questions for Lynn?
Yeah. So, on the south side of the property, the private right-of-way, okay? Now, it's a right-of-way for who? When they say private right-of-way, who can use that private right-of-way?
The property to the rear, the property to the south, and the property to the north. It's kind of a catch-all situation. It's unique that both properties on the north and south side have the right to use it. Same for the easement on the north side of the property. Mr. Alves has the right to use it. My client has the right to use it. Originally, it was set up for access to the apartments in the back, but they don't use it anymore for access. They have their main access further to the south at the
Like, I
traffic
see
light.
something like, it's either a fence or a curb, just steering all the traffic, down into that, car wash too.
Correct.
Okay? And so I don't see anybody that's in the back or on the side being able to use that private right-of-way except for the people that are, except for this facility.
Well, no one on the rear is on the east side is going to use it because there is no parking. That's just grass for the apartments on the rear. They don't use it. It's never been developed.
But are you restricting the use of,
No, they can, if somebody wants to walk across it, they can walk across it. That's fine.
can they drive a car back there?
No, they can't now.
They can't now?
No.
I mean,
You'd be driving into their lawn, so no one's going to allow them.
I know, but I
drive
mean,
into their lawn.
suppose they wanted to have access with a car, in the future, change that, would that,
Was that an issue in TRC, Ron? The use of that,
I
right-of-way?
think the applicant needs to respond. They did provide documents indicating that they have the rights to that right-of-way.
I know, they have the rights to the right-of-way, but so does the property in the back too, right?
I
For their
think
use.
the applicant needs to respond.
Well, they have the right to use it. The property to the south has the right to use it. It's a shared easement. So, for instance, we're dealing with Mr. Alves' property on the north. They have the same easement that surrounds the site on the north and south side. Right now, Mr. Alves is using that for parking. That's parking on his site, which is permitted under the terms of the easement. We have that same right.
Mr.
I know on
Mr.
the south
Allison,
side.
he's the one that's the property to the north of
He's
that?
on the north side.
Okay.
And same on the property from the south side. They're using that easement area for parking right now.
I see that, but, but on the north side, I don't see anything being built that's gonna restrict that use, for those other properties. On the south side, I see that whatever curb or fence or whatever it is that's channeling the traffic, the cars into the car wash there, is possibly restricting use to the back property or to the south property. I don't know.
The back property, you can't use it because there is no parking facilities back there for the development, for that parking. So no one's going to drive their car and go do the lawn back in East Bay Apartments. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
I guess I would
Is that
just
what-
add that the abutters, including East Bay Village, were notified not only of this hearing, but of the zoning board hearing that will be coming up. I'm not sure when that is, but, so they were made aware of this application.
Any other comments? Do you have any,
One of the witnesses.
okay.
I'll introduce Herman Peralta. He's a professional engineer from Beta. He's going to summarize. I'll give a seat. He says he hasn't appeared before.
Good evening. My name is Herman Peralta from Beta Group. I'm a senior traffic engineer. Beta was retained by the owner to assess the impacts of the proposed commercial development and make recommendations for mitigation if warranted. In order for us to determine the impacts of the proposed commercial development and to prepare a traffic study. The following task was completed. We did an inventory of the physical roadway characteristics of the servicing roadways, in this case West Main Road, as it relates to operations and safety. We then collected traffic data, including manual turn of movement counts, and obtained any pertinent record data. We also obtained accident data from the local police department to determine if there are any safety issues and concerns in the project area. We then estimated the trips that will be generated by the proposed commercial development using the trip generation manual. And then we evaluated the traffic safety and operational issues for existing and future build conditions, and made recommendations when necessary to provide safe and efficient access to the proposed site. It looks like a lot of the traffic issues have been addressed, so I'm just going to do a brief conclusion. Based on the data we've collected and the analysis completed as part of the study, it can be concluded that the proposed commercial development will provide for adequate and safe access to a public street. In addition, this applicant has submitted and obtained approvals from the permitting agency, which is RIDOT, for the access driveways on West Main Road. In addition, as part of that submission and review, the traffic impact study that we've completed was submitted and reviewed and approved, including the scope of study.
By whom?
RIDOT.
Okay, so my comments were, what does RIDOT say about weekend traffic, north to south?
Again, we submitted the traffic impact study. They looked at our scope of study, which is looking at your daily weekday AM, PM peak periods, and they've approved it, and they had no any comments.
Okay, so.
Typically, your weekday AM and PM commutes are the worst case combination of traffic. You know, you've got the naval base around the corner. You've got the Naval Underwater Seafair, Newark basically, and also Raytheon. So AM, PM peak during the weekday is your worst case combination of traffic.
What does DOT approval mean? Does it mean that your study was done properly?
Yes.
Is that all it means, or does it mean that the solution is good?
Well,
Which is really what we want.
Yes. So when we submitted the PAP application that included the traffic impact study, they obviously looked at our existing conditions, review of existing conditions, our review of safety, including our recommendation conclusions. Again, it's been approved, and we haven't received any comments, any other additional studies.
Other comments?
Is there going to be a left turn lane extended back, you know, to for southbound traffic to turn into that?
No, the southerly driveway is restricted to an enter only, and that left turn pocket at Access Road to turn left into the East Bay Village apartments actually extends far enough that it actually covers the southerly driveway. So if I could point here.
Please, take the hand mic with you.
Sure. So as you can see here, there's enough room here for 2 vehicles to queue to turn left. And based on our analysis, we're only looking at a worst case scenario, 1 vehicle waiting to turn left into the driveway.
Okay.
Again, there's not enough room to extend the left turn lane. As you can see here, it tapers down.
While you're up there on the northern side, can you make a left turn out of there?
Yes, you can. Yes, this is an exit only, and this is an enter only.
Okay, so cars can exit right or left out of that, right?
Yes.
Good luck. Going left.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just chime in for a minute. It was my understanding that the RIDOT physical alteration permit required the extension of that left turn lane into the property for southbound traffic.
I believe we submitted a revised plan originally we submitted a plan where we showed a left turn lane that extends that, but I think we submitted a revised plan that shows no extension of that left turn lane, and that's been approved.
I don't know that we got that revision then, because the document we have from RIDOT has that requirement.
Okay. I thought we've already revised and submitted. Okay.
Just, we need to know.
I will check with
We
them.
need to know what the
Yes.
actual
Yep.
requirement is.
Other comments? Do you have other? Anyone from the public who would like to speak on this matter?
Just to wrap up, I'd ask the board to give a favorable recommendation to the zoning board of review on the proposed project, and I'd ask that the board give us the waivers that we're looking for.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public hearing is closed. Before I call for a motion, I have a question. Can the waivers be voted on separately? Or do we have to vote on the entire application?
I guess I'm not following it. Each waiver can be voted separately, sure. But you're giving a single recommendation to the zoning board of review.
So what happens if one waiver is not approved and the others are, for example?
Then if you're unwilling to grant a waiver that's being requested, that should weigh into your recommendation that you'd be sending forward.
So if one waiver is voted down, then the application cannot get a favorable recommendation, or can there be a conditional?
I guess you could make it a conditional, a favorable recommendation subject to whichever waiver not being approved. But it doesn't guarantee that the zoning board is
Yeah,
going to
no, I
follow
understand.
that advice.
I understand that, yeah. I understand that. So may I have a motion for a favorable recommendation for this application?
Do you want to include all the waivers, or?
Well, we can talk about it in the discussion.
And just as you're making your motion, you've got 5 recommended conditions of approval, 4 from the TRC, 1 from staff. And then I would add a 6th condition that the applicant provide the final Rhode Island Department of Transportation approval so that we ensure that we've got the latest in our files.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation, with a positive recommendation to the zoning board, approving the indicated conditions in the last line added by the planner, and also including the waivers that are requested.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Well, I have discussion. I am not willing to support the waiver for the exterior material. I'm sure that when you are very successful with these and you wish to go to Woodstock, you will change the exterior material to suit the requirement to get into that town. So I would like to amend the motion, make it conditional. I will vote to support it, conditional upon modifying the exterior material to look like a New England-style building. Do you accept the amendment?
Of course.
Does the second accept the amendment?
Of course.
All right, we have an amended motion to give a favorable favorable recommendation, subject to all the conditions and findings, plus the additional condition that Ron mentioned about the document from DOT, is it?
Right. Yep.
And subject to the condition that the exterior materials are New England style. Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The amended motion passes.
I guess for some clarification on one item, you know, that I already discussed, it's that right away to the south. My concern is that it looks to me like we're accessing that right away just for that particular piece of property. Is that what we're doing here?
Well, the hearing's over, so
Okay.
we can talk about it maybe offline.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
The next item is, I believe, item 5B. Item 5B, a request of the Zoning Board of Review for recommendation on an application of Arcasia Newport LLC for a special use permit to allow construction of a single-family dwelling in Zone 1 of the Watershed Protection District. Property is located at 32 Acacia Drive South, Assessors Plat 109 NE, Lot 178.
Hello
Mr.
again.
Lynch.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jay Lynch on behalf of the applicant. I have one witness for you this evening. That's going to be Lynn Small, who's going to go over the stormwater and the Watershed Protection District issues. What's in front of you this evening is a site with an existing structure on it. It's a two-family dwelling that has an existing served by an existing septic system. What's being proposed by the applicant is to demolish the two-family structure on the site and reconstruct a single-family dwelling that will be serviced by public sewer. They're going to install public sewer and a pumping station at the end of Acacia. We're here before you this evening because half of the building roughly is located in the Zone 1 district, which requires the special use permit, which sends us back before you this evening. So I guess I'll just have Lynn come up and go over the technical issues of the site, unless you have any general questions of me.
I'll go back. Excuse me, why don't you speak into the-
I would recommend that we continue this until we get a chance to go out and look at it, walk the property, rather than have everybody go through it. That's our SOP. Go out and look at it. We can actually walk the property. Lynn can walk us through the,
That's fine.
that's my recommendation.
We have not done a site visit on this one, so I think I think I would support that recommendation, that we do a site visit.
That's fine.
So
Especially since it's involves protected area.
That's fine, because we missed the Conservation Commission. We were supposed to be in front of them on Monday. They didn't have a quorum, so we're in front of them in January, so it's not going to really impact
Okay,
any.
so-
Okay,
any
I'll make a
development issues.
motion that we continue this issue till our January meeting.
Great, thank you.
And schedule a site visit.
And schedule the site visit.
Seconded?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to continue this to the January 8th meeting and schedule a site visit before that.
Thank you very much.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The item is continued. And I skipped over 5A, so I'm going to go back to item 5A. Item 5A is a public hearing, consideration for adoption amendments to the rules and regulations regarding subdivision and development of land, Article 3, conservation development as approved by the town council on November 4th, 2019. And Ron, I believe you're going to give an introduction to this.
Sure. So you'll recall that several months ago, the planning board sent forward to the town council amendments to the town's regulations on conservation development. Those amendments were adopted by the planning board, were sent forward. The town council adopted them as well. However, there was some discussion during the town council meeting that resulted in some revisions to the amendments. And because of that, it has to come back to the planning board for this formal public hearing to consider those revisions that the town council has approved. So you'll see in your packet that you've got a draft showing the changes that were approved by the town council. The items highlighted in yellow are those changes that the town council requested. So there are two different issues that the council wanted to address. First being requiring that all subdivisions of 3 acres or more be required to submit both the conservation and conventional plan. Previously, in the amendments that you all adopted, it was only major subdivisions of 3 acres or more, and the question came up, well, why not minor subdivisions as well that happen to be 3 acres or more? So that was one of the changes they made, is to require that all subdivisions 3 acres or more require submitting both plans. So those are the amendments that are addressed on page 1, highlighted in yellow. And then on page 3, another concern was raised by a resident regarding ensuring that the applicant demonstrates to the planning board that the lots shown on a conventional subdivision plan are actually developable lots. So the addition of E under section 302 accomplishes that. I talked with Paul about this earlier today. It's redundant because these are findings that you have to make in any event for any subdivision, but there was some concern just to ensure that the applicant is put on notice that they have to demonstrate that to the planning board that those lots shown on the plan are actually developable lots. So the town council approved, again, all of the revisions that the planning board requested. Along with these additional revisions, you'll need to open the public hearing and accept any public input that there might be, and then vote to adopt this final set of amendments.
So may I have a motion to adopt these amendments as...
You'll have to, I don't think you've opened the public hearing yet.
May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion of a public hearing.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to open a public hearing. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Public hearing is open. May I have a motion to adopt the
You
amendments?
should ask if there's anybody, any members of the public
Can we
wishing.
do it when the motion is on the floor? Or should we do it? Is there any discussion from the members of the board?
No, I meant before
We'll
you,
do- Before the motion. Any member of the public who wishes to talk on this item?
Okay.
May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
May I have a
Second.
motion to adopt the amendments as put forth by the town council?
Yes.
Yes, meaning you put it forward?
Yes, make a
And
motion to adopt
Second.
the amendments recommended by the town council.
Can you second it?
Yes.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? I already had my discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. The motion to adopt is passed. Item 5G, a request of Peter Lewis on behalf of George P. Lewis Family LTD Partnership 2 for reduction in the performance security held by the town for the Lewis Drive 4-lot subdivision approved February 13, 2008. Ron, you're going to introduce this?
Sure, so this is regarding a subdivision that was approved several years ago, creating Lewis Drive and 4 development lots. As part of that subdivision, public improvements were required, roadway and drainage improvements. The applicant, the developer, is in the process of completing those improvements, however, is not able to complete them this construction season, which has now ended. The applicant, however, is seeking to sell a portion or one of the lots in the development. That lot is actually the security that is currently held by the town. There's a mortgage deed on that particular lot to secure the completion of all of the public improvements. So the applicant cannot sell that lot until the improvements are complete. Since most of the improvements, in fact, are complete, except for some remaining relatively minor items, the applicant would like to have that deed or the mortgage deed lifted from that piece of property so that he is then able to sell the property, but he wishes to continue to secure the remaining work through either a bond or through a cash payment, whichever is acceptable to the finance director. So what he is requesting tonight is a reduction in the performance security. You'll see I've sent out some information to the board previously indicating that the original amount of security was a little over $211,000. And again, that's currently secured by that mortgage deed. The amount of work left to be done is in the range of about $10,000. However, the town's requirements and regulations limit any reduction in bond to no more than 80% of the original bond. So you cannot reduce any below that 20% of that $211,000. So that number, if you were to agree to reduce, would be the number in the document, $42,246.87. That's exactly 20% of the original security. And again, that's roughly 4 times the amount actually needed, but you cannot reduce below that amount. Again, the action requested tonight is that you vote to approve the reduction in the performance security. It would then be up to the applicant, the developer, to present to the town through the finance office that acceptable form of security. And then the mortgage deed, and this is nothing to do with the planning board, but then the mortgage deed could then be lifted from that lot.
Do I have a motion to reduce the bond to the amount shown, $42,246.87?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion passes.
Thank you. You're all set.
So can I just leave that check with you to pass on to finance?
I will.
That's it for the form for the signature.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. It's not made out to me.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
The next item is 6A, the status report on the planning board action items. Does anyone have any comments on this current report dated December 3rd, project updates? Any comments, anyone?
Paul, Mr. Chairman, we do have a schedule of January 3rd for the Marijuana Commission.
All right, we will get to that. Thank you. Other comments? I have one relating to number 9, the abutter notice. Consideration of options for providing enhanced abutter notification for subdivision applications. Town solicitor was asked to investigate statutory limitations and report at this meeting. And he had sent out an email. Did people get it?
Yes.
Everybody got it? Everybody read it? So it appears that that cannot be done according to state statute. Is there any further discussion on this item?
Well, I was the one that asked Mr. Regan to look into this because as a normal person, I would like to know if some kind of a development is going to happen next to me and not have a surprise yellow thing show up at the blade. But Peter made the inquiry and the state has said it's outside the normal statutes. So.
And the rationale is that everyone must be treated equally everywhere, within the state.
All the rules must be the same for every town for how the process works for subdivisions, would be the rationale.
The rules must be the same.
So that when you go to Barrington, Middletown, Charlestown, any other town, you would know and have an expectation of the same process throughout the state, and it's controlled and delegated the authority to each town from the state to maintain the subdivision powers and rules to regulate.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was a good reason that Art raised this way back when, because we had some situations where
I think it was
resident-
present when one
abutters-
came up,
abutters
yes.
should have been, you know, it would have been good for abutters to be notified, but they weren't. And so the question is there anything that could be done? Or is it just an absolute no-no? I mean, we announce it publicly, and you do have the, you have the burst email that you send out about meetings.
Right.
Can something like that be used to just let people know about an item that's coming up on the agenda?
Well, again, it's through the standard posting process, so unless someone was looking for it, they're not going to find it, if you follow what I'm saying. So if it's a minor subdivision that a butter notification isn't required, why would they even think to go look
Yeah,
at something?
all
But,
All right.
you know, I guess I would just chalk it up to maybe being a deficiency in the statute, but then the solution is to change the statute.
So you're saying, excuse me, you're saying that there's subdivision going into a lot, you would just notify the people around a lot, and that, which clearly seems discriminatory, to single out the...
I think it's the distinction between the minor and the major subdivisions. So on the minor subdivisions, there would be no disclosure
Right.
or direct mailing
Right.
given to the abutters, where the major there would be. Well, within a zone, the definition is a little broader than just the abutters
Okay.
for major subdivisions.
Thank
So
you.
if you're living in an area where there's going to be a minor subdivision near you, you would have to be attuned to what's in the newspaper or reading your, the town minutes or meetings postings on the internet, and be attuned to what's going on in your neighborhood or showing up to these meetings on a monthly basis. For anyone who is in the public, there are, additional steps they could take, like putting on alerts through their search engines that would alert them to anything going in their house. There is some technology someone could use to help them, or if the town wanted to invest in a notification system using some other, IT system that could assist the public, but that would require something
Right.
much larger than would be here.
Well, you think people would pay attention, but even public meetings which are advertised, I can't tell you how many people, when we were developing the comp plan, later after, said, gee, we didn't know anything about it. And I was banging my head on the desk because we had been very transparent about meetings and things like that, so, okay.
Even the Atlantic Beach Master
Yeah.
Plan, we had public meetings, and still people showed up saying, why didn't you let us know about this?
Are we violating any, state statute by providing a courtesy to an abutter that there's a development taking place next to it?
Well, you'd be required...
I know it's not a requirement
But then you're requiring the applicant to fund that notice, unless you're suggesting that the town fund
What's
it.
the funding? I mean, it's just sending them
Even if we could fund it, I think the statute would prohibit us from doing it.
So if you require an applicant to do it, that would definitely be a violation. If the town wanted to take the steps, it would step into a gray area because you'd be using public funds to do something that isn't required, and then I'd have to do a little more research on it, but if you're essentially changing the process in a way that will be in and conflicting with the Rhode Island general laws, you would be, you know, violating the statute and opening yourself up to litigation, where it would likely be found that what you did would be null and void. So assisting someone in finding it, I think, would be fine. Taking the next steps to actually requiring an applicant to send it would definitely be wrong. And if the town was to send it, you'd be stepping into what I feel would be a gray area, which I would like to do a little more research on, but I think it would still be a problematic situation.
They would sue the town, but for what?
So it'd be exceeding your granted powers. So your power to regulate subdivision and such comes directly from the State General Assembly. It's, you know,
And then what? So by that
so
point, the people have
and
been
it
notified.
states, what's that?
By that point, the people have been notified.
Yes, but then the town would,
Would they fine the town?
yeah, although you likely wouldn't be fined, you might be assessed cost and legal fees. And then if you affected anyone else's property rights, there could be, who knows what the assessment would be, but there would be, you know, essentially a discussion in the court system as to what would be a proper recourse to.
Well, let me tell you something, just taking a side here. Right now, if you went home tonight and somebody bought the house next door to you and made it a group home, you would never know a thing about it till it happened. So there's no notice. So we are just trying to help out, and it didn't work, and that's the way it goes. So we get an A for trying and an F for execution.
The next item is the status report on comprehensive plan implementation, and you're working on that.
Yep.
Yeah. Next one is BRAC. Any other bad news?
No bad news since last month.
Committee reports. Rural Village District.
Sleeping.
Sleeping. Use table, chair is not here. Marijuana regulation.
We have a January 3rd meeting with Dwight, our consultant. Peter will be there, and the appropriate members will be there at 3 o'clock in the conference room.
Airport zoning. Joe's not here. Tree Commission, BJ's not here. By the way, the trees in the park look terrific. They planted a lot more trees. Looks very nice. Open space and fields. Michael.
I wasn't able to attend the last meeting because it was on the same day as our meeting, so I don't know what happened.
Do they do minutes?
I don't think so. I didn't get them anyway, so,
You can raise the question.
okay.
Conservation Commission, Joe's not here. Aquidneck Island Planning Commission.
Not much to report. However, there was a significant letter to the editor this week in one of the publications accusing him of probably being aligned with the dark and deep state from Washington about not addressing public meetings and concerns from Portsmouth and a variety of other crimes. That's the only communication I have to say about that.
And then upcoming meetings, John mentioned January 3rd, and the next regular meeting's January 8th, and we don't have any others scheduled? I know you're working on...
Well, we do have now the meeting on the Atlantic Beach District zoning.
Yeah.
That's now been scheduled for January 22nd, 6 p.m.
Any other business for the planning board?
Well, just one quick thing, it has nothing to do with anything important, but the open house is next Wednesday. Doesn't the town have an open house, kind of a buffet, say what kind of
Well,
thing?
there's a staff luncheon.
Staff house.
Staff lunch.
In the past, people serving on the volunteer committees and everything else, and cops and firemen were in here.
Not in recent years. The volunteer luncheon is at the beach.
Get a free meal.
I've been doing this for 20
You
years.
get one free meal a year, and that was the one at the beach.
Yeah, that was cold.
Must be the Patchogue office that's doing that.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Paul. Mr. Chair.